braved the storm. You made it
I
in.
know, what a testament to
Wow.
you. To you.
I thought it was just going to be me today. I thought it was going to be a
Wow.
very quiet class.
Oh. This
It makes me really happy.
really like fun. And I could have said, well, during the weather it's still online, but it's just fun.
Mm-hmm.
And the taste.
Of course, of course. You don't get to have that experience watching online.
This is the best program ever.
Thank you. All right, well, get started. This 12 o'clock. This 12 o'clock. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so smaller group today, but it is a snow day
It is a sneak.
in Toronto.
People might come in and trickle in later.
People may trickle in later. We probably have a few people watching online. I know that we have one special guest online, Daniela, our amazing dietitian. Unfortunately, because of the snow, she got stuck in a snowbank. Yeah, and I know she really, really wanted to be here, but
Crazy.
it's really messy outside. Yeah, really, really messy. So she got home safe. She is safe, which is good. She is watching from home. And if you are watching from home, Daniela will be putting in all her tips, all her amazing research that she put together for today's class. And I know she did put quite a bit of work into today, but she will be posting it in the chat. So if you're watching online, keep an eye on the chat. Daniela's in there. You can even ask her questions directly. I'm sure she'll be able to answer that way. And I will do my best to relay what she types to our group here. But yeah, we have a fun class today. Welcome to Community Connections, January. Starting it off with a bang for sure. Today, what Daniela and I wanted to focus in on was sort of simplifying nutrition. What are some tips and habits that we can develop or incorporate into our lives to sort of simplify nutrition, to simplify eating well? I think now more than ever, if you're watching the news or on social media, there's just an endless bombardment of nutrition fads and wellness experts, and I'm using my quotations. And you know, if you're following the news down south, there's also been another whole circus of their nutrition program. So I think, you know, especially from Danielle's point of view, and I think a lot of dietitians like Daniela probably want to convey the messaging to make it simpler for people to follow, so that achieving more of a healthy plate and more healthy habits and routine when it comes to nutrition is easier and is accessible and is sustainable. I think that is definitely the message that we want to get across today. From a cooking perspective, also, how do we make the cooking a little bit easier, a little bit simpler, and more sustainable, right? So that's the goal for today. I am going to read, because I know Daniela put an introduction, and we'll read it quickly. So, all right, introduction. I'm not going to use Daniela's voice, but what she's saying. So despite what social media and marketing machines want you to believe, you can achieve better health without complicated regimes, expensive supplements, and or the latest gadgets. So I think the big thing now, and I know Daniela was talking about it before, and I was learning quite a bit about it, is the protein and fiber maxing trends. Has anyone heard about this? This is like the latest thing. Protein and fiber maxing trends. For protein, I'm seeing it more and more. I think the latest was the, maybe I won't name them, but the big coffee chain with the mermaid on it that is now adding protein boosters and supplements to your morning latte. And you're seeing like Doritos chips with protein added to it. And so the protein maxing marketing machine, as Daniela put it, definitely in full force. Yes, most people could use more protein and fiber in their diet, but it doesn't mean that going above and beyond the recommended amounts is necessarily better. And the types of food consumed are also key. Overly processed foods that are artificially enhanced with protein and fiber may lack other essential nutrients needed for a balanced diet. Again, this is the messaging from Daniela. Those of you who just joined us, Daniela is stuck at home, and her car is stuck elsewhere in a snowbank. So she will be relaying some of the messaging through our chat on YouTube today. So that's the idea for today, is sort of how do we simplify, how do we navigate some of these like marketing, some of them are gimmicks, definitely a lot are put on by these companies to market their foods, to plus up their foods, to probably improve their sales and pick up on a lot of these trends. It doesn't have to be complicated, doesn't have to be expensive. We can definitely achieve still a balanced plate through some simple means. So for today, we're going to start off, and I'm going to jump into the first recipe. I'll keep an eye on the chat with whatever tips Daniela has. But we're going to start off with our first recipe. This is a salad, but this is based off of one of my favorite whole grain options to use. So we're talking about like little easy protein and fiber hacks here. For fiber, looking at those whole grains, I think the biggest challenge is a lot of the whole grains to cook from scratch take a little bit more time. This is the one that I want to highlight today, and we're going to make a salad out of it. Has anyone used couscous before? Yes. Okay. So there is whole wheat couscous. You have regular couscous, but you also have whole wheat couscous, which is a little bit darker. It is advertised as whole wheat couscous. I'll show you the regular, just so you can see the difference. You can see sort of a little bit lighter. Regular couscous is also great, but it's going to lack that fiber because it's just semolina flour. It's just made of semolina flour, whereas the whole wheat couscous has that whole wheat in it. So in terms of fiber, you're definitely getting more here. But from a cooking perspective, this takes like 3 minutes to cook. Not much time at all, and you really don't have to do much. You just have to soak it with some hot water, fluff it up with a fork, and you have this really, really nice starch. And it's a whole grain starch. So definitely keeping it simplified. And a great item to add to your pantry, into your pantry staples, into sort of your pantry routine. So I think through, again, some of the tips to navigate through the marketing and what is good tip and what is maybe just fluff is great, but also setting up your kitchen with some of these tools and some of these staple ingredients that will, again, make that more balanced plate a little bit more accessible, a little more sustainable, is really, really helpful, okay? So, really easy. We're going to take our whole grain couscous here. I'll put about a cup in a bowl. You can increase or reduce this based on how much you want to make. The cooking ratio is 1 to 1, so it's very easy. 1 part of your dry couscous to 1 part boiling water or hot water, okay? So I'll put about a cup in our bowl. Now, the couscous on its own with water will taste probably as good as you might think dry grain and water would taste. So you want to enhance the flavor. You want to add a little bit more to this, right? And this is where you have options. You can play around with it a little bit. I can go with some like garlic powder, some dried herbs. I have a clove of garlic, so I'll add that. But again, keep it simple. If you don't want to even go through the hassle of mincing a clove of garlic, just use some powdered garlic or spices. Okay, so we're using this little rasp here. Love this tool, one of my favorite tools. Mince that clove of garlic in there. I'm going to take a lemon, I'm going to use that same rasp, and I'm just going to take the outside, so wash the lemon really, really well. And I'm just going to take the outside of that lemon off and add that in. That's a free ingredient, a free flavor enhancer that comes with the lemon. Lemons are, more and more expensive. Every week you go and it's like the price of citrus keeps going up. So use every part of it. Don't make it go to waste. Those essential oils in lemon are all kept right here in the outside. And it's an easy way to enhance the flavor, right? So we're adding some garlic, some lemon. I will add some of the juice of our lemon as well. We'll squeeze it all in. If you have a little bit of challenge squeezing the lemon, what you can do is stick a fork in it and squeeze it over the fork, and it makes it much, much easier. If you do have seeds, let me just pick them out. You can strain it when you actually put the juice in, but there's only a couple there. So a little bit of that juice, a little bit of that zest, a little bit of that garlic, and then another easy, accessible way to add some additional protein and fiber, frozen green peas. I think, again, it's very easy for us to go to the trendy thing and what looks good and exciting. Frozen peas have been with us for a very long time, and they're still absolutely amazing. They don't have to do much to them. I'm going to add a bunch right to this bowl. As it steeps with the boiling water, which we're going to add, it'll soften the green peas and cook them perfectly so that they're not overcooked and mushy, but they'll still have some nice texture to them. So we have some green peas in there. Now I can go ahead and add my water. I'm boiling it in a pot, but even if you set a kettle of boiling water, that works as well. Oh, you know what? We should add a little, let's do a little salt and pepper to this. And again, here's where you can play with it a little bit in terms of the flavors. A little pinch of salt. And we'll add, again, it's 1-to-1 ratio. So I am eyeballing it, but essentially until it's covered, you're good to go. And then what we want to do is trap the steam. So if you have a clean dish towel, that'll work. I'm just going to use a plate. That's it. This is the hardest part of the recipe, is cooking the couscous, and that is how we're cooking it. So really easy. And again, if I just use a kettle, I don't even have to turn my stove on, right? So again, keeping it simple for sure. And in 3-4 minutes, that will be done, which is great. Now, as part of the recipe, to add some additional protein, again, another easy way to do that, we're going to be using some hard-boiled eggs on there. So what's nice is this recipe from the beginning to end, should take no more than 10 minutes, 15 minutes. As I pour some of my boiling water over my couscous, I can throw my eggs in there and let that cook. A low boil for 7 minutes for sort of softer yolk, and then go 9 minutes for harder yolk. So that's the range depending on your preference. But while that's cooking in there, for another easy additional protein that we can add, this will be sort of absorbing the liquid and those flavors that we have. So from front to end, 15 minutes max, and we have this really nice fiber-rich, protein-rich salad. Okay. Let's check in with Daniela. See what she has. Okay. Key point: if eating a high-quality protein at every meal and snack, you're likely getting plenty of protein and don't need expensive supplements. So Canada's Food Guide recommends protein makeup, that the protein makes up 1/4 of the plate. And that spreading protein evenly across meals and snacks helps the body to use it more efficiently to build and preserve muscle. It also supports bone health and helps to satisfy appetite. So instead of jamming all the protein for your day into one latte, maybe spreading it throughout the day is going to be the best thing for your body, right? In your meals, in your snacks, doesn't have to be 50 grams of protein with every bite that you take, but it's sort of pairing it up together, okay, and adding it over the day. Any questions for Daniela, by the way? I can relate to her. Yes.
So about those, because I was a few minutes late.
Yes.
About those packaging whey proteins that they sell. How about them? Is it okay to use them? Is it preferred not to use them?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, we've talked about whey proteins and its use, and those are great options, easy options to include in, like, not only the traditional smoothie, but you can add it to other things too, right? You can add it to like desserts or like a yogurt bowl or something like that. So they are great options. Daniela, if you're watching, any tips on whey protein? I know that Daniela did put some information together. So Daniela, anything on whey protein that we can relay? She'll get back. She's there. I can see her. And while she's doing that, Daniela mentioned that 20 grams of protein. So if we're talking about animal-based protein, 20 grams of protein looks like about 3 ounces of fish, which is about the size of a deck of cards, or 2 eggs, or 2 ounces of cheese, or a cup of cooked beans, or half a cup of quinoa. So you have an idea, looks-wise. When we're talking about fish, it's about a deck of cards, 2 eggs, 2 ounces of cheese, cup of cooked beans, half a cup of quinoa would be your 20 grams of protein. Okay? And if your appetite is not so great, like you mentioned, protein powder is a really great option. Look at the ingredients and make sure that it's pure, no other additives.
What it means, like how many ingredients it should be.
Right. Daniela, are there any key ingredients we should be looking for to maybe avoid?
Because I know the other time you said that when you look at the ingredients, when they are less than 5
Yes.
ingredients, usually it's, but then I don't know, like on those things there are lots of
You're right.
stuff.
Yeah.
And another question
Yes.
maybe for Daniela,
Yes.
if we take more than daily portion of the protein, like let's say if it is 60, what if somebody takes 80 grams of
Right.
proteins per day, what happens?
Right. Yeah. So, Daniela, follow-up question: if we have more protein, is that an issue than our daily recommended need? We'll see what she says. Awesome. Okay. So,
Jeremy, I just
yes.
have a question
Yeah.
about the lemon and the
Yes.
fork.
Yes.
You just poke the lemon after it's cut in half to break the membranes, or what do you?
You got it. Yeah. So, almost similar to like a traditional one of these juicers
Yeah.
that you may find hanging around. This is not a very common tool anymore, but this I think does a much better job. It's a little bit easier, cleaner. Just like you said, after it's cut, you can stick the fork in like this, and this is done. So I can do it right over just to show you, and then we just squeeze it over the fork,
Oh, okay.
and I can already feel it. It's so much easier.
Oh, okay.
This helps to keep it stable,
Yeah.
which is nice. So you're not fighting with actually holding it and gripping it and losing control of it. But it is breaking the membranes, helping to break the membranes. So you're getting way more juice out of it with
Okay,
a lot
okay.
less.
Section, I guess.
Absolutely, move it around.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Yeah, especially if you're dealing with neuropathy, squeezing a lemon can be a very challenging task, right? So very, very helpful to have that. So the couscous is done. We're fluffing it up. And then here's where we can add some other ingredients. And again, these are options. This is just sort of a reflection of like if you have leftover cucumber or leftover carrots, go ahead and add them. Or canned beans, right? So with the cucumber, I just want them like sort of bite size. So I'll slice them across and then run my knife across those slices. just so you have these like tiny little pieces here, dices here. But if you even have them sliced, with no rules here. I actually have some done as well. Cheat a little bit. Like that. Feta cheese, or like a sharp cheese, a little bit goes a long way. This is a nice way to really help to boost the flavor, but we don't need too much. I find the milder cheeses, if I'm not careful, I can probably go through a block without even blinking. So the sharper cheeses, it's really hard to overdo with the sharper cheeses because it's very rich, the flavor, and so a little bit does go a long way. It's a nice way to help boost flavor. And then 2 ounces, like Danielle mentioned, you're getting 20 grams of protein there. So Danielle said we're going to include actually a resource on best types of protein powder. So she's going to put something together we can share.
Was that 2 or 3 ounces for the 20 grams?
2 ounces. Yeah, for the cheese. More protein than daily recommended amount can be an issue for some, so it's something to discuss with your healthcare team. Too much can impact your kidneys that filter out waste products of protein. So it's something to talk about. And it's probably something that you don't want to do too long. It might happen here and there, right?
Yes, exactly.
But over a prolonged time, you probably don't want to do it. And yeah, so it's 2 ounces of cheese.
2 ounces of which cheese, which kind of? Any?
Yeah, you're targeting. It'll vary a bit depending on the moisture content of the cheese. Like your sharper cheeses will have a lower moisture content, so the protein per volume will probably be higher than something that has a little bit more moisture, more water inside, right? So we'll toss this up. I have some fresh parsley. We're gonna throw some in. But again, thinking about what are some easy ways we can add some flavor, condiments, dressings. The sharp cheese I like adding, but this could be a sambal or like a chili crisp or something like that. Whatever we have, it's a great way to, or whatever you enjoy, it's a great idea to keep that in your pantry, keep that stocked. And then, like I mentioned before, if you have, like the eggs are so easy, very easy way to get some additional protein. Actually, we'll plate it up nice. Where you don't need anything too complicated or gimmicky. So plate this up. For those at home, try to give you a closer shot here. Danielle is usually our cinematographer as well, so. All right. Daniela can let us know how I'm doing with the shots. But the salad is, again, this took like 10 minutes, and the couscous is really like 3-4 minutes and it's done. Using some frozen green beans, frozen peas, but it could be frozen green beans. It could be, another frozen spinach even. Like whatever you have. The frozen ingredients are so easy, accessible. I know we love talking about it because nutritionally, just as good, budget friendly.
Actually, Mabel,
Yes.
green peas. So you didn't cook them, no? Because usually I always cook them. I didn't know that we can take them and cook them.
Yeah, no. You can soak it in the boiling water is more than enough time to cook them and warm them through, and then they're good as is. Yeah. Plus, they're not mushy, right? They have a little bit more texture to it.
Maybe the green beans need a little bit.
Yeah, maybe the green beans. The green beans are pretty quick as well.
Yeah.
Something bigger, maybe like a frozen broccoli.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. But for something like spinach, that would also be pretty easy. And what you could do is if you had a frozen veg that you wanted to include, while your water's boiling, you can just toss it in there for like an extra minute or two, and then pour it all in to let your couscous steam.
That's really pretty.
But yeah, and there we go. are, pretty quick, higher in protein and fiber, lemon green pea couscous bowl. So that's our first recipe. There we go. And Daniela said, "Hey, Jeremy looks amazing. I wish you could be there." Yes, we wish you could be there too. We'll have to save some for you. Okay. So that's our first recipe. Back to our first shot here. Any questions about the first one here? Any questions at home? I apologize if I missed anything, so just type it again in the chat. Keeping an eye on that. All right, we'll move on to recipe number 2. So, for the second recipe, this is I think perfect for today. This has got to be one of the snowiest days we've had in a long time, because I can't remember the last time schools were closed and everything shut down. So, comfort food. We need some comfort food. This is our comfort soup, and another easy way to get some fiber. We're going to get through some veg this time, and some protein as well. We're making our sort of a riff off of, this is like a German inspired soup that with dumplings and cabbage that I've had in the past, and just really, really nice comforting soup. And we're going to show you a few little tricks on how to make that a little bit easier, a little bit quicker as well. So for the base, and I also realized that we're using cabbage again for the 3rd month in a row. This was not intentional, but that's, I think, maybe sort of lends itself to our tip of using an ingredient that can stretch over multiple meals. I think the cabbage is like one of those just incredible budget-friendly vegetables, very nutritious, but you can use it in soups, you can use it in salads, you can use it in so many things, and it lasts quite a long time. So featuring it again and not ashamed about it. We're going to start with our pot over medium-high heat. We'll add a little bit of olive oil here. For aromatics, I'm going to take a couple cloves of garlic and just throw that in. And then any other dried herbs, spices that you want to add, go for it. I have some dried herbs here. This is like a herbs de Provence, so it has like a little mix of a few different dried herbs like oregano, marjoram, rosemary, thyme, some of your favorites. In terms of, we wanted to talk a little bit about that kitchen reset today as well. I think January is sort of synonymous with that time of like, making new pacts with yourself and going to the gym and I'm going to cook more, do all this stuff. For the kitchen, I think it's a good time to sort of do that reset. So what I mean by reset is setting it up so that it works better for you. Okay, there is a very common term that we use in kitchens called mise en place. Has anyone heard of that before? Some of you, yes. Okay, if you haven't, it's a French term used in kitchens that essentially means everything in its place. It refers very specifically to having your ingredients prepped and ready to go. Sort of like this. So when I do a cooking class, I have my mise en place ready so that I'm not just chopping and opening cans as you're watching, because that would be very boring, right? So having everything organized is going to allow me to facilitate the class a little bit better. Same principle if you're working in a kitchen, in a restaurant, or if you're cooking at home, is trying to have your station set up and organized, even though it might take a little bit of extra time up front, will make the cooking process less stressful, for sure, more enjoyable, and also less risk of you overcooking or burning things, like garlic, right? If I'm running around gathering my ingredients as I'm cooking, it's very easy to sort of mess something up or cut yourself or just not enjoy the cooking and just be very stressed out. So having your station organized can be really helpful, but also having your kitchen organized can help with that process. So what I mean by that is going into your fridge, and it might take an hour or two and go through everything. And I'm sure I know I have expired jars of something hidden in the back. That might be the time to sort of review what needs to be thrown out. What are some ingredients that I don't really use that often? Maybe adding ingredients that would help to promote me to cook more from scratch, right? Same with the pantry. Going through, seeing what is expired, what are things that I don't use often, and refreshing it with things that would maybe inspire me to cook a little bit more. Maybe it's some new spices. Maybe it's a new condiment that I'm excited to use, right? And then lastly, with your equipment as well. Going through your drawers, taking out gadgets that I've never used and probably don't need to be here, and maybe I'll donate it to someone or a friend or a center that takes gently used equipment. There may be a slow cooker that is taking up a lot of space in my cupboard that I haven't used in the last 30 years. I probably don't intend on using it again. Slow cookers are great. Don't mean to trash slow cookers, but something like that where there is equipment or gadgets that I don't use and it's taking up space, removing them, refresh them with maybe something that you would use, or at least maybe just keep it a little more open for the items that you use more often, right? So that's the idea of like sort of setting up your kitchen space so that it works more for you, and it's just makes the cooking a little bit easier, more enjoyable, more sustainable. Absolutely. Let's see. Just a little tip on guidelines for women. So you're aiming for 25 grams per day of, I think, fiber. Yes, it is fiber. So 25 grams per day for fiber. For men, it is 30 grams. No, 38 grams. 38 grams for men, 25 grams a day for women, for fiber. Okay? So, we have our garlic in here, and I want to add a little bit of my dried herbs here. Again, you can add whatever flavors you love. I have some other aromatics, there's some onions, some carrots. This is a very open recipe where you can use, again, things that you might need to, if you have in the fridge that you might want to use up in your dish, okay? So pour that through. If this you want to soften the vegetables and the aromatics, you probably smell that a little bit. Yeah, some of those herbs. So I have my aromatics in here. I just want to soften it. That, and as that is softening, we can get our next ingredients ready. So we have some of our cabbage, beans, canned beans. Again, a great pantry item to have stocked up where you can access fiber and protein together. Then you can add it to soups, you can add it to salads. It doesn't have to be cooked, right? It's already cooked. So drain and rinse, really easy, accessible, budget friendly. Doesn't have to be complicated. Once it's softened, 2-3 minutes, we can go ahead and add our cabbage here. Add as much that will fit into your pot. I'm using a smaller pot today. And then we can cover that with our vegetable stock, chicken stock, or just have water. Or with water. And don't be afraid to use a bouillon, or they have like much better products now, right? The box broths are great. I don't love them always because they do take up space and they're larger, right? So they do have some of the concentrated bouillons which are really good, and you only need a little bit. They are a little bit more expensive than a box, but that box equates to like 2 liters. And it's very diluted, or 1 liter, depending on what it is, and it's very diluted. Whereas that concentrated jar of bouillon will last you like 20 plus uses, right? So a little more upfront, but it'll last you way longer, and it's way more cost savings than those boxes. So depending on what you want, no one's asking you to make a vegetable stock from scratch every time. It's great to do, but it is time consuming, right? This is going to be a great dish, very healthy, and if it helps to enhance it with some unique products, beautiful. Go for it.
A lot of the cubes don't have MSG anymore either, so
I've noticed some of the they made reduced sodium and lower sodium options as well. Yeah, so there are more options that you can choose from. Canned beans we can add directly in. This is, again, a nice way. We're adding a little bit more protein to this, fiber to this, but those beans are also really helpful in sort of satiating, right? So really nice way to fill up the dish so you feel fuller from the actual dish itself. Now, one of my favorite new hacks. I'm doing all the talking for 2, so I'm finding that my mouth is getting a little more parched. So we're gonna take our sips of water, which will lead into our 3rd recipe, which is all about hydration. But one of my favorite hacks now, I don't know how my grandmother would feel if I'm not making gnocchi from scratch, but these gnocchi, these vacuum packed gnocchi, are a really, really great time saving and money saving hack. Okay, like I mentioned, we're riffing off of like a dumpling and cabbage soup. Where typically you make the dumplings from scratch. I don't have time to make dumplings from scratch, right? So this here is a product. It's essentially a potato gnocchi, which is vacuum sealed, and this takes like 3 minutes to cook. It's shelf stable. Once you open it, then you would want to refrigerate it, or what I would do is actually freeze it, and then you can use it because this freezes exceptionally well, and then I can use it as is. For a kilo, again, I've seen there's different brands, but they're all fairly budget friendly. Like this kilo bag was like $3, right? So for a kilo, this will last you. I can make like 3-4 recipes out of this, right? And it doesn't have to be just like a traditional sauce, like a tomato sauce. I can add it to my soups. I've seen recipes where you bake them with almost like in a little casserole, and it gets nice and crispy, right? So there's different things I can do with this, but again, an easy, convenient way. I'm stocking my freezer pantry, or if it's not open, my regular pantry up with a great meal starter, a really great way to fill up the meal as well to make me feel more satiated. So I'm getting that healthy meal in with a nice, convenient product to help to fill it up, right? So what I usually do is once it comes to a boil, and I'm happy with the texture of the cabbage, it does not take long at all, maybe like 10 minutes or so, I'll add these little gnocchi right at the end. They take 3 minutes, but if you want them to absorb even more of the flavor, you can even let them go a little longer, or just turn off the heat and let them sit, and they sort of swell up a little bit and suck up some of that liquid in there.
Can I take a photo later?
Of course, yeah, I'll put this on the side. Yeah. So if you can't find this, you can definitely sub that with even like a dry pasta, or you can put like a barley, or you can mix and match, right? But this is just to give you some ideas of how I can set up my pantry to work a little bit better. So love those, and that's it. Like it should be fairly quick. This is a nice recipe to go for the bigger batch. It freezes really, really well. And again, by making the bigger batches, setting myself up with leftovers that freeze well, I'm sort of taking advantage of that cook time, that effort that I put in for those days where I just do not have time or energy to make something from scratch, right? I put that time in, and I've made a really nice dish. So this one is finished. I'm going to zoom. So let's see if Daniela has anything. Oh, the only other thing, to mention with the fiber, depending on your needs, if you're at risk of as needed. Oh, 2. So, anyway, like for me on a cold, snowy winter day, having something very nice and comforting like this is a win. You don't need a lot of those little milky dumplings in there, but a little bit just really, really helps to fill that soup up. And you have to top it maybe with a little shrimp cheese again. I know we did the last recipe. This is optional, but might as well. Either like a parm or a grana padano or something. You don't need too much. But to take a soup, that cabbage soup, sounds kind of boring, but there's ways in which we can, help plus it up a little bit. And there we go. There's the second recipe, our little cabbage dumpling soup. Yes, lots of leftovers. So, for those at home in the stuck in the snow, I apologize. I have to make this one. Yes. More for us here. All right. Any questions about this recipe? Any questions at home? Those watching? Yeah, sorry, Janella really wants this soup. She was really looking forward to this soup right now. We'll have to freeze some for you. All right. So we're going to shift to our last recipe, which is a mocktail. And I know, Daniela, what do we want to say about mocktails and hydration? Again, I know like dry January is like a big thing that's talked about often. Daniela sort of had a different perspective on it, which I think is great. So she'll share that in a second. But ways in which we can hydrate more often is, I think, obviously really important, but especially if you're not a big fan or bored of just water all the time, ways in which we can make that a little bit more exciting. And even if you want something a little bit more special, like a mocktail, we can sort of achieve that with a pretty simple process. And this is a really nice recipe to create essentially this flavored water enhancer. Okay, we're going to be making sort of a blueberry ginger water enhancer here. What I need is pot. We're going to use some frozen blueberries, which again, you can use fresh, but these I think just cook down a little bit better. Or something like if you're making like a jam or syrup or something like this, the frozen blueberries work really well. And what I'm going to do is take about 2 cups of water and about a cup or so of our frozen blueberries in there. And then anything else that we want to enhance the flavor, so I can add lemon. I love the idea of ginger in here, and it doesn't have to be fresh ginger. You can use ground ginger as well, but just load it up with a bunch of ginger. Actually, we'll take a little bit more in there. These little roots, has anyone purchased like this ginger before? Has anyone like not used it all and then gone back to it and it looks like a shriveled up root in your fridge? Yeah, that happens. But ginger freezes exceptionally well. So it's one of those things where if you buy a big chunk of it, but you only plan on using a little bit for the recipe, peel the whole thing so that you've prepped it, and then you can wrap it in like a little parchment or something just to keep it protected from the cold air. Throw it in a little Ziploc bag and then pop it in the freezer. And now you have this like solid block of ginger. You take that over a grater and it's like snow. It's like ginger snow. And you can add it to whatever dishes you want. Really easy, but it will last a lot longer. All right, so we're saving that product here, okay? And peel it first because it is hard to peel after you freeze it. But yeah, throw some chunks of ginger in there. Something to brighten it up a little bit. We want a little bit of acidity, so this is apple cider vinegar. But again, you can use any acid. So you can use lemon juice, you can use another vinegar if you want. We're going to add the apple cider vinegar, so about a teaspoon in that. And once you add the apple cider vinegar to the blueberry mixture, let me see if you can see here. It does something really fun with the color. So it might be hard to tell. No, it's going to be very hard to tell. And I can't get my shots right. But it goes from like a purple to a pink, like a very, very vibrant violet. Can you kind of see it off of the ginger there? Yeah. Yeah, the apple cider vinegar starts to change the color, which is really neat. So we're adding all these ingredients and we're going to bring them to a boil. To add a little bit of sweetness, because that's the idea, is I want to make sort of this concentrated flavor enhancer. You can add a little bit of honey, you can add a little bit of maple syrup, and this is where you can go based off of your own discretion, right? So I'll add a couple tablespoons here. And as I do that, so we're going to bring this up to a boil, and it's really in like 5 minutes to cook. So it doesn't take much time at all. We just want the blueberries to start sort of bursting a little bit.
Please be advised that audible testing of the fire alarm system will take place on level 8 to 15.
All right.
As long as you
Fire alarm testing. Perfect. We're in the middle of our class. I'm going to talk through it, and I will relay another point from Daniela. So, in regards to the blueberry ginger mocktail, so we talked about adequate protein and fiber, but we need adequate fluid intake to go along with it. Both protein and fiber need fluid to work properly in our body. That is an excellent point, and I know Daniela has talked about it before, especially if you're just starting to introduce more fiber in your diet. Do not forget the water components that needs to go with it. Otherwise, you will feel the addition of fiber. So that fluid is really, really important to just help with the digestion. Otherwise, it will be pretty hard, aggressive on your system with that extra fiber. Okay? So the fluid is important. Let's boil and blend it until it's smooth. You can put like a little hand blender in there or transfer it to a blender. If you want to strain it out to make it like really kind of smooth, you can just pass it through a sieve. Or if you don't mind like the little bits of like the ginger and the fiber, you can leave that in. But if you want it a little smoother, you can pass it through a sieve. And what you'll get is this really awesome all right, there we go. Enough of the testing. So what you'll get just from those blueberries, of that ginger, a little bit of that honey, is you get this awesome blueberry like syrup, right? This is concentrated. The more you cook it, the more concentrated it will get. So it's one of those things where sort of taste it until you're happy with it, but you're tasting the concentrate. As you dilute it with water, that's going to dilute. So if you want it a little bit stronger, continue to cook it as it reduces, and those flavors will really enhance, especially the ginger. The ginger will really start to come through, which is nice. But you end up with this really nice little blueberry concentrate, which, again, I know Daniela knows this. I have to do a better job of drinking more water. I often add just like frozen fruit or lemons to my water because it helps. This is a really nice way, a really easy way to do that as well. So, to show you how to finish this, what I like to do is add as much as you want. You can kind of based off of your taste. Like a few tablespoons of that water. We have some ice. Nope. There's also a small storm in your freezer, so the ice is a frozen block, but you can add ice to that, and then you can top it with just flat water, or for something like more like a mocktail style, you can put some sparkling, and you just have this like really pretty looking, refreshing drink with a lot of those flavors in it, and this is something that you can keep on hand, right? This will last in the fridge for a few days as is, but if I'm making it like this, I want it to last a lot longer. And so what I'll actually do with it, I should keep this up, is freeze it in like ice cube trays. Regular ice cube tray will be fine, but this is a larger version of that. So I just froze some of this syrup in our ice cube trays, and then you can like pack a bunch of them in a freezer bag. I went through some like lemon wedges with lemon slices in there as well, and then you can pop them out, and you have this almost like an ice cube, but as it sits in the water, it will start to dissolve and it'll start to melt and it'll start to slowly release some of those flavors of the water, and it looks really cool as well. I'm going to put another one here just so you can see. This will overflow and make a mess. Well, we'll be happy. Yes, but you can kind of see how it kind of floats on the top, so you can do it after. And again, it's just a really fun way to hydrate, but also to get a little bit more flavor. Yes?
Can we have it warm too, like the other one that you made, is the apple, mulled apple?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You can make it like a mulled beverage. Yeah, like a warm beverage. Again, think of it as this concentrated flavor. Bring it the ginger, bring it the blueberries in there, and then I can add it to different dishes. I can add this to like a pancake mix or something, and make blueberry pancakes out of it, right? So there's different ways in which we can use this up. But in terms of the hydration component, changing it up a little bit in how that hydration looks, making it a little more enjoyable for sure, but making sure that we're getting those essential fluids necessary.
Or a trifle dessert or something.
Oh, like a trifle dessert? Absolutely. Yeah. Lots of options there. And talking about, so a lot of the risk reduction guidelines recommend the avoidance of alcohol completely if possible, and if must, have a drink. Then aim to keep it to max 2 drinks per week. So those are like sort of the current recommendations for alcohol, but it's changed quite a bit here. Talking about trying to reduce as much as we can. So having some of these options, these mocktails, is a fun way to aid with that. And that is our last recipe. So thank you at home for everyone watching. If you have any other questions, please shoot them in the chat. All those tips from Daniela we're going to include on the recipes themselves when we post them on our pages. So we'll make sure that you do get all of that. Thanks for everyone joining us today. Braving the storm. Thank you. We're going to serve up some of this food so you can try it. You made it through the storm. This is your reward. And then just a reminder that these classes, we offer them the third Thursday of every single month, 12 to 1 p.m. Next month, we're actually doing a little collaboration with Gilda's Club. We have a very close colleague of mine, a very good friend, Amy Symington, Chef Amy Symington, who will be joining us. And she will be working with us. We're going to be cooking up some amazing things. We're going to be featuring some dishes from her cookbook. She's got a good cookbook out. So we'll talk about that. So she'll be our guest for next month. So please tune in then. And until then, stay safe out there, stay warm, and we'll see you in February. Bye, everyone. Yeah.